Hello guys, what's going on? Welcome back to my videos, and today I'm bringing you guys the top 5 highest damage bloodlines in Shindo Life. Now, I've done a top 5 highest damage ability, but because I'm going to be regarding the entire bloodline in this evaluation. So anyways guys, if you guys enjoyed this video, remember that like button to click off for more. Let's get right to the video, guys. Coming in 5th is going to be Giovanni Shizen. Now, the reason why this is going to be coming in 5th is because all of the abilities actually do a ton of damage. And I know that may be very surprising because nobody uses this bloodline anymore, but it does a ton of damage. So we're going to start off with the clone here. As you guys can see, the clone does 10k a hit, and then the heavy attack that misses sometimes actually does like 15k. So overall, that ability does like 80k damage, which is massive. Now the second ability here, the second ability actually in a duel does about 50k total, which is an auto dodge move, which is absolutely ludicrous. Not only that, but the dragon move, this move that I know nobody uses because this is probably one of the most unwieldy moves in the game. When it hits, it actually does 50k damage. Now obviously the main reason why this is actually going to be on this list, the C spec. Look at the damage on the C spec. The C spec can actually do up to like 300,000 damage if you're very lucky and do a place lock stun. But overall, this bloodline is one of the highest damage ones because all of the abilities actually do a substantial amount of damage. Now coming in 4th is actually going to be Minakaze. I know you guys expected this to be on the list, and here it is. Minakaze actually does an absolute ton of damage with pretty much all of the abilities, including the counter. So she's going to go ahead and attack me now. And as you guys can see, it actually does a lot of damage. It just did a flat like 30k damage right there on a counter ability. Now the C-Spec, obviously the C-Spec is an insanely good stun ability that actually does a ton of damage. I would say it does around 45k damage. Now the third ability right here is probably one of the best ones of it, but it actually doesn't do that much damage, but it does enough damage to be on this list. Obviously at the end there's a 30k attack. Now the second ability is actually the big damage ability of this bloodline. As you guys can see, it's a bunch of little damage procs, right? But like, as you guys can see, it does add up, and you can kill someone very easily with this bloodline, literally by just running around spamming the abilities just because of how much damage they do. Now coming in 3rd is actually be Shindai. Shindai has been nerfed like 20 million times, but it still is one of the highest damage bloodlines in the game. Now the reason for this is because the sun move, as it did before, does a ton of damage. It actually does up to 100k damage while in mode. Out of mode, it does 80k. Now, the Sunflower move actually does more damage than you would expect. A stun move does about 22,000 damage in mode. And at the end, there is a Genjutsu ability, but that doesn't actually do damage. But obviously, the highest damage part of Shindai is actually going to be the clones. The clones, even after all of the nerfs, still do a ton of damage. Now, the only issue with the damage of Shindai now is that the C-Spec is actually super bugged out, and the C-Spec no longer attacks. But it still is one of the most highest damage bloodlines of the game. Now coming in 2nd is actually be Raikid Shizen. I know you guys expected Raikid Shizen to be on this list. Who would not expect this to be on the list? With the C-Spec that does so much damage is unreal. And if you place lock stun them, it does like 200k damage in a duel. So that means it does about 250k out of a duel. Not only that, but the auto tracking branch move that comes out like this with the big tentacle branches actually does a lot of damage to themselves. It's actually a lot more than you would think. Not only that, but the sunflower move, as you guys can look at that damage. And then the forest that has the absolutely massive AoE. I know it only hit her twice, but it actually hit up to 4 times, and it actually does around 60k damage out of a duel. So overall, Raikishin does an absolute ton of damage, mainly because honestly, the Buddha here, the Buddha kind of carries the damage of Raikishin, and all the other abilities actually provide just enough damage to actually be included on this list. Now, honorable mention 1 is obviously going to be Naramaki. Naramaki was going to be included on this list no matter what, simply because of the third ability. Third ability just does so much damage. It does 80k damage after the nerf. Before the nerf, it did about 120k damage out of mode, which, as you guys might guess, is ridiculous. But all the other abilities of Naramaki actually surprisingly do a metric ton of damage. It is very surprising, the DPS output that Naramaki actually has, and actually does explain why so many people think it's good, even though it's not that good. Now, honorable mention 2 is actually going to be Paper. Now, Paper is going to be on the honorable mentions, not because it actually does the most damage overall, but because the 3 abilities that Paper actually has just do so much damage, it is unreal. The third ability actually hits twice. It can actually do up to like 90k damage out of mode. The first ability does about 80k damage out of mode, and then the shurikens that almost nobody uses does actually 24k a hit out of mode. So together with the shurikens, it actually does, I would say, 5 times 25, which is 125k damage out of mode. So overall, all these abilities together, if you actually just do it by math, can actually one-shot someone just by using these abilities, but the chance of you hitting all of them is just very low. Coming in first is actually be Tengoku. Now, I know this is going to be surprising to a lot of people, but Tengoku actually still does a ton of damage. Honestly, Tengoku right now is one of the most underrated bloodlines in Shindo Life. Almost nobody uses Tengoku anymore, and it's a little bit sad. It's mainly because the C-Spec actually had a damage nerf, but the damage was rebuffed and it actually had a block break re-added, so it actually is better than it used to be. Not only that, but the second ability is no longer than stun global cooldown. It actually does quite a bit of damage if you can actually hit all of the balls on people. Now, the main damage ability is actually going to be the Tengoku beam, which hits about, I would say, around 11 times. And if you are out of a duel in mode, it does 11k a hit, so it actually does around like 120k, 130k damage. But mainly, the reason why Tengoku is going to be first is because all the abilities added up together actually does more damage than pretty much any other bloodline in the entire game. I know that may sound surprising to you, but I'm almost positive if you took the damage values of Tengoku, like including the M1 damage and things like that, it would overall be one of the highest DPS bloodlines in the entire game. Anyways, guys, that's be it for this video. If you guys enjoyed this video, remember to like, click out for more. I'll see you next one, guys. Bye bye.